Today, I'm showing you an incredible workflow, how you can easily generate stunning 3D AI shots for your own AI movie or 3D short film. I will explain you step by step how you can generate a 3D scene in Krea AI, take the scene then into Blender, and how you can then add your own rigged 3D AI character and lights to render your shot. In addition to that, I will also show you how you can then completely transform your 3D renderings through ComfyUI to create beautiful renders and adding extra details through AI upscaling. Last but not least, we will then start breathing life into our AI renderings and taking them through an AI video generator. By the end of this video, you will be able to generate highly detailed 3D AI shots with much more control than ever before. Having said that, let's dive right into it. Hey guys, finally a new video, and this time it's about a topic I wanted to cover for a long time with you already. For anyone who doesn't know me yet, I'm Philip from Pixel Artistry and welcome back. So to get started, this time we are starting in Krea AI, and there are two options that we can choose. So we can choose the free variant, which would be that we generate 3D AI assets ourselves and then compositing them together in Blender. Or the other way, which I will do now, which you can basically do with a basic subscription in Krea, which is about $8 to $10, I think. And they have an awesome staging tool, which I will show you now, with which you then can generate 3D scenes from scratch. First, we have to go to the Krea main page, and we can then see that we have here multiple options. Because with the subscription, you're not only getting the 3D staging tool, but you also have all those other options like video, image, and so on and so on. And what we can do, for example, is over here we see the 3D stage experiment tool, and what we can do then is click here on open. It's already saying describe a 3D space. When I would open one, as you can see, it's generating kind of a 3D view like we have in Blender usually. Start generating objects that we would like to have. To show you this quickly, I can enter, for example, a simple prompt. I prepared the prompt already, which I also took from Midjourney, which I will show you in a second. So for example, I have here an old red car stands on a dirt road, a man standing in front, green hills, grass, pixel style, 3D render, and summer. And then it's important that you choose here to generate a skybox for your scene, because the skybox is like an HDRI kind of, which giving you the basic colors, and as well we have the objects. And once you have done that, you can simply then generate. Okay, great. You can navigate around by clicking left mouse button and then just dragging to navigate in the scene. When we select an object, you can see the base image. So what we can do is just hitting the backspace button or the delete button to then remove it. What I do usually to build up a scene is first searching for references, and here I used Midjourney as a reference because I literally take the same prompt I used here, also Midjourney, and then it gives us this really nice stage composited view over here. And what you can do to place an object is you simply first select it, then you will see that you get those handles over here, and then you can start dragging them around. And I honestly think the navigation is even easier than in Blender, for example, where you work mostly with shortcuts. We have multiple objects here, so we could also select this one here, which looks quite cool, and then also place it, and then start building your scene kind of like this. So that's quite cool. As you can see here, the car is quite not successful, as you can obviously see. So let's maybe copy this prompt here and then delete this one. And to generate new objects, of course, that's also possible. Simply, as you might have already seen, you have here generate 3D stage, and then you can just prompt here the one you want. And then once you hit generate, you have then to place the object. So simply, once it's done, you can simply place it somewhere you want. But don't worry too much about the details right now of the meshes, because we will completely transform this rendering later on then in ComfyUI. And then we have here our small car that we can also place, as well as our flowers and everything else. And we even have a human here. So we can then say, okay, we want to have maybe him standing here, and then take our car as well, and then you can simply place it. And of course it's a lot back and forth. What you can do is also reprompt the car if you want to do that. I can show you a scene I prepared for it. I can open it here and show you really quick. It's also quite cool that you can save your scenes. So once you regenerated a lot of objects to kind of fix them, you can also of course always duplicate object. For now we won't create a camera. We will do this in Blender then to also add lighting and stuff and to render it out for our shot. What we can do then is that you simply go here to export scene, and then you can choose here your format, and then it will start exporting your scene. You can then dive into Blender. Alright, and once we started Blender, what you can see here is of course an empty scene. So let's first delete this cube with X, then go here to File, Import, and then this time we're choosing then the FBX file. Choose the folder that we have, which is called scene in this case. Say here import FBX. Yeah, load your scene into the viewport. We can also view our textures over here. So once you click on this little button to viewport shading, we can see that all textures are applied correctly, which is great. And once you have done that, we can then start placing our camera basically, which is cool. For example, I can go here to Shift and A, then place a camera by simply selecting here camera. Then we can also say view, cameras, and then set active object as camera. You want to shift things around or navigate in your Blender viewport that you can then disable this option again. And then you can move freely into your space again. Make sure to zoom out a bit and then select the kind of sky sphere that we have over here. Then what you can do is that you go here into this little menu and then go to your shader editor to apply the material. What you can do then is simply drag this one into the shader viewport. What we can do then is simply hook up the color into the base color, and then as you can see, it's creating this sky for us, which is cool. We could also, to not have any reflections on it, we could also simply go to the emission tab, and then it's self-illuminating by simply plugging it into the color, having strength at 1, and then turning down the base color again by making it black. One more thing we want to do here to actually make it a bit prettier is to add some lights, because right now when I render this shot is first I need to go here to switch that from EV to cycles, and maybe this also to GPU to be a bit faster. And to render this as a first try, what I can do is go here on the top and click render image, and then it will give us a first preview. So first thing what we can do is that we add a new light. So what we can do is that we go out of here, delete this point light that comes by default with Blender, and then hitting Shift and A, go to light, and then area light. And then it will be very small and we can't really see it. As you can see, it's just a small rectangle. So what we can do is we can shift it up first, then hitting S and then making it larger. Then we can rotate it as well. And then make sure that this handle over here is pointing to the object. And what we can do then is that we go here pressing Z, or either go here, one of those options, then going here into the rendered view. As you can see, it's not affecting that much the environment yet. So what we can do is go here to the light properties and then increasing here the value to something like 1000 maybe. And I would like to have the light shining from here, something like this. We could also rotate the sphere actually to have a bit more, because as you can see, the sky is here way brighter than on this side. Let's also select our sphere. And once we have selected it, can also hit R, and then we can also rotate to the corresponding spot where it should be, and then we can hit 0 to go back to our camera view. Maybe something like this. This could be quite cool because the sun is also coming from there, so it matches our sunlight. Alright, once you're happy, it's then about time to add our main character. As you can see, of course, we have here already a character, but what we would like to do is that we have a much more detailed character that we can also position in 3D AI space as much as we want to have it, maybe raising his arms, for example, or adjusting his feet and so on. So what we need to do first is that we go to Midjourney, because here we need to generate our multiple images, which is important that you also see everything from his body basically. Also arms spread apart, because in this case it's showing here an A pose, which we need later for the rigging part. And it's so much easier when our character is standing in this pose already than if the rigging tool has to identify if it's in another pose, because the rigging tool is kind of trained or is in a requirement that it's either in a T pose, so you can also choose a T pose, which is like character has just arms spread apart all over the body. You can also go go here to settings, and then as you can see here, I'm in the landscape mode for this one. It's important that you choose here Midjourney version 7 because it's giving the best results in my case. You could also choose here raw if you want to have a more realistic result, but I went here with a stylization value of 150. What you can do then as well is just send it. And once you send your prompt, Midjourney will then start generating this character sheet for us, which is great. And then as you can see, it's giving us all those great options that we have here. We can simply choose this one then. What we need to do then is now to split our images that we can then use in Hunyuan 3D to create our character. To do that, we can simply go here to the edit mode, because we need to have the front view split, the side view split, and the back view split, as well as this one. Then we can choose here that we crop our image kind of, and once I'm happy here, because now as you can see it's only him, you can go here to the eraser, change the brush size, and then maybe say something like this, because otherwise it will crash like the trousers. Let's prompt it like this maybe, and then also say trousers not intersecting. And then as you can see, Midjourney is giving us multiple options here. You can do that then with all of those steps, so that you go back to your original image, you go here to the little download button to then save it to your PC, and then save them for the next step. All right, our next step is now creating our character in Hunyuan 3D 2.5. And if you want to know more about this process, you can check out my latest video where I did a detailed guide about everything concerning Hunyuan 3D 2.5. What we can do is go first here to the multiple image view, then go here to front view, and then choose our character, what we just saved, for example this one. And we can also choose one for the rear view, the left view, and the right view. Anyways, what you can do then is select here then the version 2.5, generate PBR map, which is always great, and then you can hit here generate. I did that already as a preparation for this video, but once you have generated it, you can also go here to the asset tab, and then as you can see, I prompted here already our character. What you can do then is, of course, as always, go here to GLB format, then hit here download. Next step then is to go back into Blender. For this one we will create a new file, and then we're going to import our character. We can do that by file, and then we will choose our downloaded character, which we have over here. In this case I rigged him already, but we won't use this technique because this is not completely reliable, and I would like to have really rig controls and everything. So for this video we will use another method, but of course you can also play around with rigging feature, like as you can see here from Hunyuan 3D. Move it then to my scene collection and get rid of the amateur. And then it's very important before you go in and export it for AccuRig, which we will use as the next tool for rigging our character. What we need to do is first merging our vertices as always. So what we can do is then go right click and then here merge vertices by distance. And then as you can see here, there's a small feature that we can choose. And then there should be no holes anymore into your mesh, and it should merge smoothly for this one. What we can do then as a next step is that we go here to file again, go here to export. It's then very important that you're choosing here the selected objects option, and then you can export it to FBX. And our next step is then to use AccuRig, a free tool, so you can use it as much as you want. Once we are here in the main menu, what we can do is we can here drag and drop our character, so either an FBX or OBJ file, And then as you can see, it will already import our model. And as you can see, it recognizes the character. It's also in the correct posing. Then we can go to rig body, and then it will start giving us a basic rig. As you can see, we have here points that we can choose, for example, where it should be. Also here we have a reference image. Just refine those points quickly where it should be then in 3D space. We can then go here to rig right hand. Then we can say here number of fingers. We first have to see, of course, best case it should be 5. All right, and once it's there, as you can see, some things are a bit shifted. We can fix that by selecting where the bones should be. What you can do then is that you mirror it over to the left side, and then we go to finalize character. Okay, great. And once it's done, as you can see, it worked here quite successfully, which is cool. And what we need to do is then here go to export FBX, then choose here our target application, which would be in our case Blender. So we will choose that over here, and then max texture size we can keep to original, and also say embed texture, and then you can say here export. And once it's then there, what we can do is keep our original character here, and what we can do then is go here, import, and then FBX, and then we go here to base character rig. As you can also see, we don't have any controls yet, because for this one we need the add-on, Blender add-on from AccuRig basically to install it. Of course, you will find all links for all those tools that I'm using in the video description down below. So make sure to check that out. And once you have done that, we can then go back into Blender. And then as you can see here we have add-ons. Then we can go here to install from disk. And then we can choose, then we can also see here, we have CCIC tools, and this ones we need basically to enable. Once we have done that, we can press then N, go here to CC pipeline, and either we can import our character or connect our character. So as it seems like we need to re-import it again, but we can also do this by simply click here, import character. Then we will choose again our character that we have, and now it will recognize this. And then once everything worked, it will then also show here the rigify option. This is what we need in this case. So simply click here on rigify, and as you can see, it will then automatically add all those controls for us. Choose our character, go to shader editor, and then what we can do is that we then reapply our material, where we can go here to the material tab, then delete this one, and then go here to material 002, because this was the one from our base mesh, which was applied here. And as you can see, we have now a working texture. And once we have done that, we then simply need to save our file to something like, maybe it's also good to remove the camera and lights, because we don't want them later on. And we can maybe also create a collection, which we will do with M. And then we can also shift the rig in here, because now we want to reference our character into our 3D scene. And to do that is we go first saving here, then we go back to our Blender file. And then as you can see here, we can first get rid of this character that we have over here. Go maybe back to our shaded mode. And what we can do then is go to file. And then it's very important that we go to here, append. And then we can, through this way, then load in our character, rig character in. So we will then choose the character.blend file, which we just saved. We go in here. Then we can also choose our collection, and as you can see, it's not there yet. Oh, sorry, and the issue was we need to, of course, also put our mesh into the rig collection to make it work. We can simply save it again, which is important. And then we go again back to File, Append, and then to rig. And now, as you can see, the mesh is also loaded inside, which is great. So we can then choose our rig and then place wherever we want. We can get rid of the other one, which we don't need over here. All right, and once we are then having our rig ready, we can then reference it into our main Blender file. And this is also quite easy and straightforward. So what we need to do is first to create a collection, and I did it already. Also, don't forget to drag your mesh in there. And what you can do then is simply save your Blender file so that it's in the folder of your choice, because we will then append this file into our main scene. We will delete this guy here, disable this one at least, because our character will be exported now in here. Then we can go to import, and what we can do then is, as we can see already, we have here our character.blend file by double clicking here and then under rig. And as you can see, it then gets loaded in by default. But to actually be able to move your character, what you need to do is then go again to one of those and choose then pose mode like this. And most of the times there is a frame set for the base pose, so just keep that in mind, that when you move your character, like the timeline, it will snap back to the old one. So I think it's basically just probably this one, which we don't need. So this seems to be those shapes here that we don't need anymore. Don't ask me why they are here, but I think we can simply delete them. And as you can see, now we only have our rig left. I can recommend to keep it simple. You can keep him at the base position if you want at 0 actually. When you see here, always when you select him, you can then go to the pose mode. And then what we can first do is that we going to another frame, maybe frame 2. And now you can start actually placing your character, which is quite cool. So what you can do then, for example, now is that we go to this pose here. We can also scale him up a bit, that he is fitting more like scale wise to the scene. And then we can also rotate him, for example, and then also framing him with the hands however we want to do that. Most important thing is then that you actually hit A to select all kind of controllers that you have, and then press I or right click and say insert keyframe for all of those, so that actually our characters then keyframe for this position, and it won't snap back then when you shift it around then like this. Of course, when you go to 0, it will then snap back to its base position where we had him before, but otherwise you can now then start kind of placing him however you want. And if you would like to render this one now, for example, what we could do then is that we go back to our object mode, then choose here render image. As you can see, I reopened now a file where I tested it already, and as you can see, I put him here in this basic pose, and then as you can see, we can render out our shot. And just make sure on the right side that you have cycles selected in either CPU, GPU or GPU. Then you can also set your samples here and also your resolution that you want to have in the end. So of course you can set here a higher resolution if you want, or a lower one. And then you can see over here your render status, like how much it rendered already. And once it's done, we can then finally save out our image in different poses, for example, or in different camera angles, however you want to have it. One more thing is that if you want to change the camera, what you can also do is simply select it here, because right now we have another camera selected. What you could do is go here, select the camera, then go to view, and then you can go to cameras, and then set active object as camera. And as you can see, this would be then our new render camera. And this is now the final image. Go here to image, save as, and then you can render out. One last handy thing I wanted to show you is that you can, for example, select this one here again, active object is camera, then we could move it, for example. And if we want to have some nice depth of field now that our shot looks better in the end, what you could do as well is you go to your camera tab here, and as you can see, I have already selected it. So you simply need to go here to depth of field once you have selected your camera over here. And what you can do then is also changing the focus distance, for example. So when I go closer now, as you can see, it gets way more blurrier. So just keep that in mind, that you can change here the depth, kind of like the focus distance in general. And once you're happy with one, you can then go again in here and render it out then. Of course, it snaps back now because we have here a keyframe, and then as you can see, this would be then the new perspective. All right, and now comes finally our ComfyUI part, which we can use to now completely transform our AI renderings. You first, of course, need to install ComfyUI. I've also explained this in another video, which I will link you down below. All right, and first to get started, you need to download my new workflow I created for you. I will also link it to you right down below that you can download. And as you see, it's called 3D to A Workflow Artistry. This workflow is also heavily inspired by Mick Mumpitz, who created also this kind of base workflow already, and I keep learning from his stuff as well, so huge shout out to him. I just refined it a bit in some areas, also for the upscaling part, for example, that we have here. You can see here is that we have different areas which are also enabled here. So what first thing you should do is then go to your manager and then 2, install missing custom nodes, and then they will be placed in here. Then you can select them, simply hit then install, restart your ComfyUI, and then they should be there. Next step is then to download your models. So to prepare that, I also tagged you here all the different links you need to download. You can either search them up in the manager and model manager and then search for the file name, kind of how they are called, but for some of them they are not available in the model manager. So then this is why I also put you here the direct link on Hugging Face to download it, and also to where you need to put the file in your folder. Like for example, for this one in the VAE folder, in this one in the clip folder, and this is all described here. If you have any issues, then as always, please let me know down below in the comments. And once you have done that, you're basically ready to go for the workflow. But there's one more thing we need to do: train our own LoRA. With training our own LoRA, we can give them really unique styles and really take our AI renderings to the next level. So one LoRA is here the stylized landscape safe tensor, and the other one is our character that we have. And I chose Midjourney, is that I prompted here, old red car stands on a dirt road, simply by just prompting it and then clicking here on vary, on strong and subtle. So it gives me multiple variations of the same thing, kind of, to let the LoRA know what it needs to be trained on and how the lighting situation is and stuff like this. And once I did that, I did the same actually for our character. So what I did here is also, as I showed you already with this one, chose multiple variations of this guy. So I said here, for example, man in his 30s close up, and took this one as an omni reference. So how you can do that basically is that you go here, say man in his 30s, that you go here and drag your image, like for example this one, into the omni reference slot that you have over here. So I choose here a quite high value of like maybe 525, and what you can do then is just send it, and then it will generate you. And then what I did is downloading all of them and then to put them in a folder, and then actually to train your LoRA. This is also quite straightforward. So I would suggest you that you install this tool here, which is called Pinocchio. So it's an auto installer. You don't need to do the whole installation from scratch. So this is quite cool. So once you have installed it, what you can do is just open Pinocchio. And then what you can do then is, once you have it open and installed, what you can do is just going here to the home or to discover, and then you can search here for FluxGym, and then you will see it here because this is the app we need to train our LoRA. Then you can simply download it here and then install it. And once you have started it on here, this is also quite straightforward. So what we can do, for example, if we want to train now our character or landscape, what we can do is that we go to the folder. For example, here I have all those environment images that I wanted to have, and what I can do then is simply select them all, and then they will be loaded in per default. Next step is then that we go here to add AI captions with Florence. In the meantime, we can also choose here our options. For me personally, I have a 12 gig of graphic card, so I will choose this one here. If you have below 12 gigs, then you might need to go to file.ai or any other service to train your own LoRA. There are plenty of options out there, but if you have more than 12 gigabytes, then you can also do it through the FluxGym mode. So for example, this can be also landscape test, for example, for this one. And then it's very important that you choose here a trigger word, because your trigger word will be then in the end what you will type in into the prompt field in ComfyUI to then kind of activate the LoRA that you want to use. So here you can also say landscape XL, as I did with my trained LoRA already. And then what you can do is here choose the Flux Dev mode, which we will also use. Otherwise you can leave it as it is. And as you can see already, we have here this nice prompts. And what you could do then is go here to start training. And then as you can see, it will then start training the LoRA. It took me around 40 minutes to 45 minutes, I think, to train the LoRA. Okay, great. And once you trained your LoRA, you first need to find it, the file for it. And this is also quite straightforward. So we will go to C in my case, and I have here the Pinocchio folder where you will find it usually. If not, then please check where you installed your Pinocchio, but otherwise it should be here. Then you could also go here to API, and then you see here the fluxgym.git. And what you can do here as well is that you go under models, for example, and then you see all the models that were downloaded for you, but we wouldn't like to go to data sets, I guess. And then as you can see already, we have here the trained LoRAs that we have here, also our landscape test, but which I canceled because I have done it already with this 2 here. And then you can go to stylus landscape, and what we will see here is that we have here all those images inside if you want to have another look. And you will find the final LoRA you will find then under the output file over here. Then you can go to stylus landscape, and as you can see, here was a safe tensor file for us created, and what we would then need to do is copy this safe tensor file, go then to our ComfyUI folder, go here to Comfy and then to models, and then LoRA, simply paste it in here then that you have it. You can also of course put it in your own folder. I put it here, for example, under FluxGym, and here I have both of them in. And then of course make sure to restart your ComfyUI again. Okay, great. And once back in ComfyUI, what you can then do is choose here in the LoRA loader model only then your file. So you can go basically here and choose then the FluxGym stylized landscape tensor. And what you can do then as well is to make sure that you really select here all of the models that you downloaded and selecting them here. Also on the dual clip loader, it's very important that you choose here the KlingAI safe tensor first on this one, and then clip name to this one, and choose here flux, because otherwise it will throw an error. And then of course for our text prompt, it's important that we have here over here, for example, a character prompt and a scene prompt. So here you will describe either with ChatGPT or yourself, of course, character and scene prompt, how you would like to have it. And then make sure that you have here your trigger words. For example, here I have the stylized landscape XL, which I've defined before, and I named my character Harold. And what you can do then basically is then go here to choose file to upload, then load in the image you would like to have. So the ones you rendered out of Blender. Let's take this one here if we like it, with the composition that we have. Here we don't need to change in anything. Of course you can adjust the prompt, let's say maybe in this one he stands next to his car, and then it should work like this already. Over here we don't need, in most of the cases, the depth and canny control net, because we only need the type control net, which is doing a really great job by itself. So we can basically go here and then just disable the depth and canny one, and just enabling the tile one we need. Also make sure to disable the upscaler for now, because we will need that in the next step. But once we have that, what we can do then is simply going in here, simply click on run, and then it should start generating kind of the workflow. And as you can see here, it's loading the control net model already here, and we'll then go through the whole workflow. Once it's generated, as you can see, we get this really nice result. So we're getting more grass, and it's overall just looking way better than before. Only thing you need to really do then to update your shot is going in here and just uploading another image. Last thing is then that we upscale our AI image so that we can then take it finally then in the end to KlingAI to animate it. So what you can do then is that we disable all of those ones that we don't need now, and simply just enable the upscaler, go to the upscaler one. As you can see here, we have a new setup. Then we can simply choose here file to upload, and this time we need to go to our output folder. So I have the saved here already, but it will be under ComfyUI output region and LoRA. And then as you can see, we have here our new generated file that we need. I put it here to 512, which gives me most of the times great results. And then it will be upscaled to a higher value as 4K. As you can see here, I put high detail, and here as well you need to put in both clip files for Flux. And one other thing you might need to do, which is the only difference here, that we have here the load upscale model, which I'm using here in this case the 4x MKD superscale. I will also put you a link there either here or in the video description then for you down below. And once you're happy with that and you have your VRAM released, what you can do then is simply click run again, and then you will see here the final result then. Once the upscaler has done its job, we have then here two preview jobs that can view them here. So as you can see, we also have here an A over B comparison. Of course, you can also refine the settings here, for example, change the step size. And then as you can see, I'm running another upscaler, which is also coming in here. This is why we're using the 4x NKMD superscale. And this one is then applying also another upscale. And as you can see, we get then even more detail. Of course, we can also do this with a close-up. So if you want to load in here another image, you can also do the same again by load input image and then go here, choose file to upload. And as you can see here, I took then a more close-up angle with the depth of field, for example, for this one. Then you can let it run through the whole process again. I didn't change anything on the settings, something that you can see here for before and after comparison. And also I did this with multiple other images, which you can also see here on a side-to-side comparison. We now come to our last and final step, which is animating our images, kind of that we then have at the end a final animated shot. And for this one, I'm using my favorite AI video generator at the moment, which is KlingAI. Go, for example, to the video option here, and then we can drag and drop our image in here. Make, of course, sure to take here the upscaled version that you used before, like with the upscale detail. Once you are logged in and have uploaded your image, as you can see here, what I did as well. It can sometimes happen when you want to upload the image that it's too large for the for dragging it in. So what we can do, for example, is that we go to Photoshop and then simply export it as a JPEG and then reload it in. And I can go here to File, Export, Export As, and then choosing here JPEG with a high quality, and then export it here to the folder of my choice. And then as you can see, our frame gets loaded in here. Of course, you can also add an end frame here. You could also animate this in Blender, that is going from one frame to the other. I can put as a prompt, for example, I did this with the last one, is slow zoom in and man looks around. So I basically first describe the camera movement over here and then what the character is doing in this shot. The most important thing we need to do is that we choose here on the top Kling 2.0, which is the latest one if you have that, and then you can simply generate here your result. And I did that already, for example, with this prompt before, and as you can see, this is then the final result, which looks in this case then very impressive. In case you would like then to download your video, what you can do is simply that you go over here to download. So I really hope you enjoyed this guide, how you can really transform your AI renderings with ComfyUI and 3D. I really hope you understood everything. As always, if you encounter any issues, please let me know. Also, if you encounter any problems with the workflow itself. Otherwise, as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel so I can keep doing what I'm doing and to support me with a like and sharing this video. Having said that, see you on the next one.